So neurophysiology, by the way, hi guys. My name is Louisa. Neurophysiology is a subspecialty of neurology. So I'm specifically trained in intraoperative neurophysiology, so where I would go in with the neurosurgeon to different cases, if you will, craniotomy, whatever that may be, and basically ensure that the patient on the table isn't brain dead or maybe test their nerves or something like that. So that's not what I do now. So I'm going to tell you a bit about what I do, but before I do, can you all give me a round of applause? Because I didn't get that. Yeah. Thank you. You got to be your own hype woman, right? So my name is Louisa Nicola, as I mentioned earlier. I'm a neurophysiologist, but now I'm a human performance coach, which is so exciting to me because I get to pretty much advocate for best practices on how to age better. Now, I've got 28 minutes, so I'm going to give you a brief overview of who I am, how I got here today, and how I can help you stave off the second, I would say, I think we're sitting now, the second biggest disease that's causing us all to die, which is Alzheimer's disease. So born and raised in Australia, I've been living here in New York City for quite some time. I'm a true New Yorker now. Moved here in 2017. I was an elite triathlete, so I raced for Australia. That was around 20 or 30 pounds ago. I was racing professionally. I was on the circuit. I went to Beijing, Auckland, London, called it quits in 2011. And right about that time, that's when I started to learn more about medicine and physiology. I started working in a clinical setting. I was pretty much doing thousands upon thousands of brain scans. That was my job, just do brain scans, pick up on early onset Alzheimer's disease. As neurophysiologists, we use EEG scans. It's those scans, it's those things where you put a cap on your head, you've got all these leads coming out. You usually see one if you've got epilepsy or if you've had a seizure. So I was seeing so many scans, and I was wondering, why are there so many people that are being diagnosed with this debilitating disease, which is Alzheimer's disease? Does anybody here know, just by show of hands, anybody that's been affected by dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Pretty much many of us, right? It's the second leading cause of death, I think second to cardiovascular disease. Maybe it's third, actually. But it's surprising, right? Because if you look now at the statistics, 57 million people worldwide currently have Alzheimer's disease. That number is said to triple by the year 2050. And when you look at these cases, when you actually zoom in on this 57 million people, you will realize that only 5% of the cases were driven by genes, meaning there are 3 genes involved in this disease. We've got presenilin 1, presenilin 2, amyloid precursor protein. When you look at the cases of this 57 million people worldwide, they are responsible. That means that if you have 100% penetrant genes, you will get Alzheimer's disease. But why are the other 95% of the people getting this disease? It turns out that the 95% of these cases were driven by lifestyle factors, which is so insane to me. In fact, I read a statistic not too long ago, and that is, just in the US, it turns out that only 24.2% of US adults meet the recommended guidelines for physical activity for both aerobic and strength, which means that there's 76% of us, 76% of us that are not exercising. So let's talk about some of the things that we can be doing to stave off these neurodegenerative diseases, and not just that, so we can have a healthy performing brain. When it comes to brain health and overall health, I know we're seeing so many things on social media. You know, if you're not in the health space, God love my mom, God love my dad, you know, every day my mom's ringing me up. She's seen something new on Instagram or something new on Facebook, some sort of supplement that somebody's telling her to take. She's not in the health space, so she's confused. It's a confusing field with the rise of social media. There's so many things that we think we should be doing, we think we should be taking. But let me tell you, if you are not sleeping well, if you are not exercising well, and if you don't have your nutrients and nutrition in place, nothing else matters. I call these accessory items. The ice baths. Who's doing ice baths? They're fun, right? No one's putting their hand up. I have an ice bath in my living room, by the way. I'm a bit of a cliche. Then we've got the saunas. Then we've got the lion's mane mushrooms. Then we've got the this. Then we've got the that. It's so funny, right? We can be taking these accessory, can I swear? I don't want to swear. I don't want to swear. But these bullshit items, right? And it's like, you're not even sleeping well. Oh, you're not even exercising. And you think that this supplement is going to help you with your brain health. And it drives me freaking insane. But that's why I'm so excited for events like this. You know, I came here in 2017. It was my mission to meet absolutely everybody in the fitness field and in the medical field, so I could infiltrate the market from the top of the tier, like the people who are doing well. How do we educate people so we don't have, you know, who can do 57 times 7, whatever it is, that million people in 2050 being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease? Because let me tell you this, it turns out that it's 1 in 3 of us will be diagnosed with one of these neurodegenerative diseases. So, how does it start, right? What are we seeing when it comes to brain health? How do these neurodegenerative diseases start? People think that you're diagnosed at age 70. They think that these disease states, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's disease, that it's a one point in time diagnosis. But it turns out that these diseases start in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s. And it was Albert Einstein that actually said that the 8th wonder of the world is compound interest. And I love that, because compound interest is everything, not just in finance, but in health. Meaning that whatever you do today, the habits you do today, can either help starve off these diseases or help slow the onset and the progression. My area of research is in exercise, believe it or not, because it turns out that no matter what drug you take, actually, if you are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, there is no reversing of this disease. No matter what drug you take, no matter what you do, the best way to slow the progression of these diseases is through exercise, right? Isn't it unbelievable? And guess what? It's completely free. Wow. It is a completely free intervention if you do it. That's the thing. I tell my mother every day. She's like, Louisa, it's fine. I went grocery shopping today. She considers that cardio. She considers cardio, you know, going, and we fight constantly, my mother and I. So if you think about health and performance and human performance as a pyramid consisting of 3 factors, I mentioned exercise, sleep, and nutrition. That's how I actually place it. At the bottom of this pyramid, the legs that are going to hold up you for eternity is actually going to be how well you exercise. So you know when in your last years on earth, unfortunately, I lost my grandmother and my auntie, who was like a second mother to me, to cancer. My father in 2019 had a stroke in the right parietal lobe, so I've seen a rapid decline in his cognition. Now, when they tell you to start getting your things in order, okay? I've heard that one too many times. I'm Greek, so we have a very tight-knit family. There's only about 1,000 of us, and we all live together. It's a lot. So you hear, it's time to get your affairs in order. And I think we need to change that and start getting our affairs in order in our 20s and in our 30s. And as fitness coaches, have we got fitness coaches in here, or are we just spectators? We've got fitness coaches. That's where it starts with. People, like my parents, for example, people trust you with their health. I trust, back in Australia, I have a personal trainer. I've fired about 50 of them because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to the aging brain and the aging system, right? So it starts with you guys. So what can you be doing to help people not only get on the path of staving off these diseases? I'm talking cancer, cardiovascular disease, dementia, diabetes. What can you be doing? It's exercise. I'll tell you why, and then we'll move into the next of them. We'll move into the next 2. What does exercise do? We've got aerobic exercise. We've got strength-based exercise. And then we've got a subspecialty, which is called Neuro Athletics. That's my company. Aerobic physical activity, which is pretty much just long running, okay? long distance running, long distance swimming, long distance cycling, what you're doing on the body is, first and foremost, from a cardiac perspective, you're remodeling your entire cardiac system. It's called cardiac remodeling. As you exercise, the more that you pump your blood, the stronger your arteries become. The stronger your arteries become, guess what? The more blood you are able to perfuse to the rest of your organs and your brain with less efficiency. That's the first thing. The second thing that it does is, and we knew this in academic research, in 1999, the first studies really came out around aerobic physical activity and brain health. And what they did was they got these mice to run on these wheels. Okay, then they kind of got little areas of their brain and they dissected these mice and they found out that mice who were wheel running for 20 minutes per day had larger brains. Larger brains. Because it turns out that when you aerobically exercise, you have this molecule, okay, that gets infiltrated into your bloodstream called BDNF. Has anyone heard of it? Brain-derived neurotropic factor. It is just a growth factor for the brain. So it turns out that when these mice were wheel running every day, they secreted this hormone which got delivered to the brain, which grew new brain cells. So they were like, holy shit, this is unbelievable. Does it work on humans? Turns out that it doesn't. Okay. But here's the caveat. As humans, we cannot, adult neurogenesis does not exist, meaning the creation of new neurons. A neuron is a brain cell. It does not exist in humans. However, it exists in one area of the brain. It's called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is this little seahorse-shaped structure deep in the temporal lobes. It is the first thing to go in the aging brain and during Alzheimer's disease. This is the area responsible for memory formation and learning, which is why some of the first signs of Alzheimer's disease is, I forgot my wife's name, I forgot my keys, I forgot the street I live on. So, if we now have research that aerobic physical activity can grow new neurons in the hippocampus of the brain, why are we not doing it? Why are there only 24% of us exercising? Is it lack of education? I'm not sure, because I don't think so. You've got brilliant, huge podcasts out, like my friend Gabrielle Lyons right here. She's got one of the top podcasts out there that really talks to people, specialists, about the importance of exercise. So it can't be lack of education. What could it be? Is it adherence? Is it the fact that we're just naive or lazy? I'm not sure. I'm not part of the 76% that don't exercise. So, okay, we've got aerobic activity. And I get it, it's hard, right? If you don't love to run, I get it, it's hard. Okay, but that's on you. But then we've got strength training. And oh my God, strength training does so much more than aerobic physical activity. It turns out that when you strength train, like lifting weights, I'm not talking about these little pissy 1 pound weights, lifting weights, ladies, lifting weights, okay? You can't tell under this jacket I've got a lot of muscle hiding. But lifting weights, oh my God. When you lift these weights, you secrete something called myokines. These are little muscle-based proteins. They live in the muscles. They live in the cells of the muscles. And when you contract your bicep or when you contract any muscle group, they get pushed out into the bloodstream. And these little myokines, guys, men and women, let me tell you, you've got receptors. Okay, imagine a receptor just looks like that all over your organs, your brain, your liver, your kidney, your prostate, your heart. And when these myokines get released from the skeletal muscle, they lodge on these receptors and they do good things. In fact, there's a really amazing study that I'm like deconstructing right now. It was printed in a very high stringent journal, and it looks at the effects of resistance training on tumor growth in the prostate. So we are now seeing actual exercise as medicine. Well, some of us are, the 24% of us are. So we have to now push for better policies around exercise and all-cause mortality, because let me tell you, Unfortunately, you can't reverse conditions, but you can stave off these conditions. We now see so much research on exercise and cancer. Exercise, of course, and cardiovascular disease and diabetes, which diabetes is a risk factor for dementia. So we can stave off these diseases through exercise alone. In fact, 80% of brain gray matter can be modified by physical activity. Let's move on. I've got 14 minutes left. Let's go up the tier and talk about what the hell does sleep do? We spend a third of our lives sleeping, and some of us are not doing it well. It's funny, right? We have to learn how to sleep. Like, how dumb are we as humans? When you really think about the concept of sleeping, unfortunately, with how we're living now, we have to learn how to sleep. But what is sleep? And why is it so important for us? Turns out that sleep, specifically 2 stages, we've got 4 stages of sleep, and stage 3 and 4 are what we need to care about. Stage 3 is called deep sleep. Who wears an Oura ring or a Whoop strap? Who knows how to really understand sleep stages on their Oura ring? And yeah, 1 or 2 of us, great. Money's well spent there. So many people are wearing this, they don't really know what's going on. But when you open up your Oura ring first in the morning, the first thing you should look at is your heart rate variability, and then you should look at your sleep scores. And your sleep scores really, this is not a be-all and end-all. Don't get mixed up in the whole, this is my life. A lot of my clients think they literally, this is their entire life. They stress themselves out about it. This is around 70% accurate, and that's being really nice. It's around 60% accurate. You're not going to get away. This is not a sleep study. This is not a PSG. It's not an EKG. It's more so there to pick up on trends, right? But when you open it up, you'll see your sleep score. You'll see deep sleep and REM sleep. Oh my God, deep sleep, guys. It is, if you can bank on anything, it is deep sleep. Because this is what's happened. 2 important things happen during deep sleep. One is you get the secretion of hormones. We get testosterone-released men. Okay? You want to increase your testosterone more, sleep more, exercise more. Inject less. Second one is you get growth hormone. This gets released during deep sleep. So you've got the natural secretion of these hormones, but then you also have another wonderful phenomenon called the lymphatic system activation. Who's had a lymphatic massage before? They go in and they do some weird things to clear the lymph. You actually get a lymphatic drainage in your brain during deep, slow wave sleep, meaning that the little brain cells in your brain, they're called glial cells, they shrink in size during deep sleep, which allows the cerebral spinal fluid to wash out all of the debris and toxins that build up during the day. And one of the toxins that it actually cleans out is amyloid beta. Amyloid beta is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. So when you sleep, you are cleaning your brain. You are washing it out. And then you've got REM sleep, which is also a really great marker of overall cognitive performance and health. It helps with learning. It's like emotional first aid. So if you're angry, maybe you just want to sleep more. But we have to think about the things that are actually kicking us out of sleep. And the worst thing that you can do for your sleep, I hate to tell you, it's going to break a lot of hearts, is drink alcohol. Alcohol, every time I post about alcohol, it really upsets people. My reels go viral every time I post about it. It's really emotionally driven for a lot of people. And it's never my opinion, right? I get so much hate because alcohol is, I get it. We're stressed, we're anxious, depression's on the rise. Alcohol serves as that aid to we think it kind of blocks us, it helps us with our anxiety, our depression, whatever it is that you're going through. But it's in fact doing so many things. One, it acts as a sedative. So it blocks deep sleep, it blocks REM sleep. So if you block sleep, you end up waking up during the day and you haven't cleaned out the debris and the toxins that build up. So you've got that, but then you've got this other aspect of alcohol where you completely just deteriorate all the cells in your body because that's what alcohol is. Sorry to be a downer. Ethanol then turns into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is literally poison, I've read, for your cells. So alcohol is probably the worst thing that you can be doing for your sleep. We've got some other things out there, light, We've got people wasting money on blue light blocking glasses, which it is a waste of money, but I still wear them because the placebo effect is a real thing. So we know that in science, so I still wear mine. But, if you're just doing the regular things, sleeping well, making sure you're not eating too close to bedtime, trying to increase your sleep time to 7.5 to 8 hours, maybe keeping a cool sleeping environment. We know that in order to fall asleep and stay asleep, our core body temperature needs to drop at least 2 degrees. So keeping a cool environment, these things are going to help you. And it turns out that exercise early on in the morning actually helps you sleep better. So there we go again, another tick for exercise, right? And I'm sorry for the married people, but it turns out that sleeping alone is better for you. I don't know, but that's what the studies say. Last but not least, I'll talk about my least favorite, which is nutrition. I don't talk about it because it's a scary world, the nutrition world. It's not one that I'm too fond of. I'm a proud non-vegan. But what I do know is this. Your brain has 2 nutrients that you can be taking to support the healthy functioning of your brain from a structural perspective and a functioning perspective. The number one is creatine. Many years ago, we used to think that creatine was this body-building supplement to make us look better, feel bigger, get bigger muscles, but we now have evidence, human evidence, to show that creatine is also absolutely fundamental to brain health. What is it? Well, creatine monohydrate, it helps with cell energy metabolism. We have cells in our brain, not just in our bodies, and they need energy. Energy is everything, right? And these, by the way, I just want to point out as well, the brain is everything. It is responsible for everything you are, every thought you have, every action you produce. Everything you are today is a result of how well your brain is functioning. We don't give it a lot of credit because it's mysterious. We don't know too much about it. I've been studying it for the past 15 years, and I'm still learning new things. We don't see with our eyes, we see with our brain. We don't hear with our ears, we hear with our brain. What's good for the heart is good for the brain. Creatine can help with everything from greater energy supply in the brain, and we're now seeing research to show that is absolutely fantastic to be neuroprotective against concussions, TBIs. We're seeing studies with Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Of course, because these neurodegenerative diseases, you have less energy in your brain. So creatine is amazing, starting with 5 grams a day. And ladies, it is not going to make you fat. It's not going to make you fat. It's not going to make you swollen. It's going to do you good. I don't work for a creatine supplement company, so there's no hidden messages behind here. It's also not going to damage your kidneys, so we really need to stop with that, right? The second supplement that I would recommend is omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids come from fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, and it turns out that they are absolutely phenomenal for the brain and the cardiovascular system. They're now putting it up against, if you have a low omega-3 index, which is actually classified as 4% or less, which is what most of the US population is, 4% or less, you're on this, get this, 4% or less, you're on the same benchmark as somebody who has been smoking for 20 years in terms of all-cause mortality. They've actually added it as a risk factor for all-cause mortality, omega-3 index. It's a pretty easy test. You can go and get it done. It measures the amount of omega-3 in the red blood cell. So these 2 nutrients, plus exercise. By the way, exercising, you need to be doing at least 180 minutes per week of aerobic physical activity, and you need to be lifting heavy weights. These myokines that get released are not going to get released with 1-pound weights. You have to be lifting heavy, which is annoying, right? But you have to be doing it. You have to be doing it at least 3 to 4 times a week, right? So we've got exercise. Sleeping. I get we're not robots, right? You have to be sleeping well at least 80% of the time because sleep isn't like a debt that you can repay to the bank. You can't sleep well for, during the week and just fuck it up on the weekends. It's not going to work like that. You can't repay it. Remember, compound interest. Okay, put $1 in, depending on the market, get $3 out, whatever that may be. But if you take away on the weekends and you're starting at $10, you're not going to take away and go down to $7. If you're in $10, you're going to debt. You're going minus 100, let me tell you that. And it gets harder as we get older. So putting these free strategies in place, once you get all of those in place, you've got the nutrition down packed. You've got the exercise. You've got the sleep. Guess what? You can then do the ice baths. You can then do the saunas because they're accessories. They're the cherries on top. They're fun. I've got 3 minutes left. So I will say this. I think when it comes to social media, it's a wild west out there, right? You're being bombarded with just dumb shit, but also really great things, right? What I can tell you is this. If anybody is selling anything outside of the 3 things that I've just mentioned, don't believe them because it's not true, all right? Exercise, sleep, proper nutrition, and also understanding your blood work. If you want to perform at your peak and you want to be healthy, not this fake health. If you actually want to be healthy, which is not just the absence of disease, it's knowing your DNA, your blood work, I would definitely recommend going and doing that, plugging the holes from your diet, figuring out what you're deficient in, supplementing on top of that, and listening to really great people, which are the people that are presenting today. And you will be on the path to performing better, thinking faster, and living longer. Thank you. 2 minutes left for any questions. I've got 2 minutes. Yes. Yep. Oh, you really want my take on combat sports? Yeah. Yeah. Ethically, I don't work with the NFL anymore. I had a number of players, but because I'm just seeing so many things occur. We've all heard of CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It comes from repeated hits to the head. You hit your head, you don't rehabilitate it, you hit it again, and you go down a bad path. It's the same as boxing, unfortunately. So basically, what was your name? I didn't hear that, but Mike. Mike? Maybe it's my head. I'm hearing Hyman. Lyman. Okay. What we're seeing now is, okay, you're getting hit to the head. Is there any way to stop this? Or is there any way to protect the brain? We're seeing research coming out with 20 grams of creatine to serve as a neuroprotective mechanism against knocks to the head. We're seeing that within a 72-hour post-traumatic insult, that if you dose up on ketones, exogenous ketones, you can rehabilitate the brain. And we're also seeing a lot of research coming out to if someone's just been hit in the head, depending on the velocity. I can hit you in the head or I can slam you. It all depends on the velocity. Another thing that works well is dunking your head in a bucket of ice to cool down the brain. However, and I will say this strongly, there is no protection for the brain if you get hit in the head. Even with a soccer ball, constant repeat headers are also causing damage. Sorry. Awesome. Thank you.